Alright fellas, Tank vs Roach just quickly went from a hugely underrated fight to one of the biggest stories in the sport. Tank Davis disappointed many of us the fans by once again dragging a champion up from the division down below instead of finding a champion from his own division, in a move which all backfired, and resulted in the first blemish to his perfect record. In what was a bout which almost everyone wrote off Lamont Roach, he proved everyone wrong, and for Tank, his aura of invincibility has faded. So we need to talk about what just happened in the fight, talk about the hugely controversial knee, as well as what happens now. But just quickly, if you love boxing, you're in the right place. My name's Cloister and I make videos on everything boxing, so make sure to subscribe and I'll always keep you in the loop. Now for this Tank fight globally, there just wasn't really any hype at all. For a bloke who claims he's the face of boxing, the numbers of the Ben Eubank press conference were massively higher than Tank's. Massive for UK boxing, but for a man who's meant to be the face of boxing in America, it was all a bit of an underwhelming promotion, and this lack of hype could be put down simply to his opponent choice. Over the last couple of years, his opponent choices have been mediocre, mainly avoiding many of the fights that the fans want, except for the Garcia fight, which of course he was weight drained in. And to a certain point, I can't blame him. If he's going to make similar money against Man than he is against Shakur, why wouldn't you take the fight that you think is easier? However, the fans eventually will get sick of you fighting fighters that especially the casual fan doesn't recognize. The casual fan, or even the regular fan, doesn't really know who Lamont Roach is. It's a great fight for the state of New York, but really outside of that, with increasing pay-per-view prices, does the average fan want to buy an $80 pay-per-view for something like this? I don't know about that. And although I'm sure that this event would have been a financial success, you can tell fight by fight the hype is kinda just dwindling. This lack of promotion just kinda ended up with this event sneaking up on a lot of us. Even I thought leading to this fight though, similar to many, I thought Roach was a decent fighter, but Tank would end up fighting a home eventually for the left. But clearly, that didn't end up happening. Once the bell went, it started as a typical Tank fight. Tank not doing much, and him doing the best to download information about his opponent. Usually, most of Tank's opponents come out blazing, because they think, well, these are easy rounds to bank, may as well be super active and easily bank the rounds. Although, all they do is give Tank enough information to then press them later in the fight. Roach did the opposite. He played Tank at his own game, and really for the first 5 rounds, it was a whole lot of nothing. By the 6th, they started to open up a bit more, yet Roach was taking Tank's power and didn't seem too fazed by it. By the 8th, Roach even wobbled Davis with a counter right hand, and by this point in the fight, Roach was getting more and more comfortable with trading with Davis, and he wasn't really fearing his power. The 9th started with a hugely controversial moment. Davis ended up taking a knee, to then run over and have his corner wipe his face. This somehow was ruled a no knockdown, with them saying, oh, Tank got something in his eye, all good to stop, mate. That's horrific officiating. There's no timeouts in the sport of boxing. Just cause you got something in your eye doesn't allow you to stop and it be ruled a no knockdown. It should have been at least ruled a knockdown. He took a knee. That's the rules. But at the end of the day, it's really, you just have to put it down to, well, it's boxing. What, should we be surprised? But through the next couple rounds, Roach did end up getting more and more comfortable, throwing out combinations more freely with less fear of the counter. Davis in the late rounds was also quite inaccurate, with Roach taking advantage of this and being able to counter Davis. In the last round, Davis did improve a bit, but it should have been too little too late. But as the scores were read, it was a majority draw. I think most people's scorecards I've seen in the community had Roach up. It was an incredibly close fight, but if the knee was ruled a knockdown like it should have been, Roach would have won. Personally, I had Roach winning the fight by a couple rounds. Now let me know how you scored it down below. Yet what's next for the both of them? This draw leaves us with a bit of a messy situation. Of course, they both have indicated that they want the rematch. For the Roach camp, looking back, they would be feeling robbed by the decision and the officiating. The move they would want to make instantly is the rematch. But they do have that belt at super featherweight. Is the WBA going to allow them to hold on to that belt as they chase the rematch? I'm not so certain. The Roach camp, I'm sure, would be willing to vacate this belt to chase the big money rematch. In the Tank camp, well, they'll want their get back and I'm sure they'll pursue the rematch also. I don't think that they can blame this performance on whatever was going on with the grease in his hair. What I think will come to light is more deeper problems. Was it a problem with a coaching shakeup? Was it a problem with Tank's discipline? I guess as time goes on, we'll have a clearer picture. Additionally, there'll be questions of, did Tank take this fight lightly? Through the whole promotion, we didn't really see the typical Tank Davis come out at all, and potentially this lack of motivation resulted in a mediocre performance. but really, there shouldn't be any excuses, and only applause for the performance that Roach put up. But after, as it was said in the post-fight press conference, it doesn't seem like this rematch will happen next, with Tank wanting it, but saying it might happen in the new year. In the post-fight press conference, Tank almost kind of confirmed that if he had won, he was going to call out Jake Paul, and that would have just been a bit sad for the sport. And I worry that could be truly next. I hope it isn't Paul, but it's clear that something is already planned, with Tank saying we should shortly hear about it. But he made it pretty clear that they don't think that this rematch is going to be next. If a man can dream, hopefully it's a matchup against one of the bigger names in the division. Give me a Shakur, I'll even take a Gervonta Davis. Anything but a Jake Paul. It is unfortunate though that a rematch doesn't seem possible next. Yet on the other side for Roach, here's a lot more options if the Tank fight isn't next. Shakur's already highlighted that he would offer him a fight. I don't really want to see that, but he could just move down to his current weight class and defend his belt. But for Roach, he looks big at 135, and I reckon he could find a home in the lightweight division. But I want to see the rematch over a potential Shakur fight. Overall, the smartest move I reckon for Tank is to take the rematch and rewrite his wrongs. But in the coming days, I guess we'll find out if there's truly another fight organised, or if these plans will be scrapped so the rematch can happen. This fight though will stand as a bit of a wake-up call. Tank was made to look a lot more human tonight, and his aura of invincibility has faded a bit. Roach put up a fantastic performance and should have gotten the win, but that's how boxing goes. I'm not surprised with the result. I think Roach has gained a lot of fans, and Tank will have to go back to the drawing board with his strategy. It's clear when he gives up those early rounds and can't back it up in the second half, he's in a world of trouble. It'll be fascinating to see what happens next over the next coming days, and I'll make sure to keep you covered if there's any major news. But for the moment, I want to hear what you guys think. What did you think of the fight? What did you think of the knee the Tank took? How'd you score the bout? What's next for the pair? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. I love to hear all of it. If you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing. It does a ton to help the channel. But thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.